Good morning, beloveds. I am back in my regularly appointed place at my regularly appointed time. It was a good visit to Louisville. It was a good visit with my family. The reason for being there was sad, but because we were there to say goodbye to my Aunt Mary. And it was interesting during the memorial to hear everybody share the memories of her. And to realize that she really did live her life on her own terms. She did what she wanted to do, and, damn the consequences. I didn't know she was allergic to corn, and my cousin Mike shared a memory. Oh, she took him to the theater, or maybe a baseball game, and he asked for popcorn, because he didn't know about the allergy either. And obviously this is when he was a child. And she bought him the popcorn and she ate some and she came home with horrible hives. And he's like, if I had known. And she's like, So, my Aunt Mary is an interesting woman. Truly an interesting woman. All right, it is October 6th. And our title is My Environment is Saturated with the Presence of Good. Our quote is, Thou wilt show me the path of life. In thy presence is fullness of joy. At thy right hand there are pleasures forevermore. And that is Psalm 16:11. If we cannot demonstrate the presence of good where we are, we shall never be able to do so at what seems a better place. The human mind likes to think that distant pastures are greener, but we know they are not. Good is the result of right thinking based on right motives. It is not a location. It is an atmosphere which has to be revealed by us wherever we are. There is no more of the presence of God in a great cathedral than there is in your own home or office. Principle is either everywhere evenly present and active, or it isn't a principle. An unpleasant environment is a challenge to us to see God in action at that place in the universe. God has the ability to see, Jesus has the ability to see God everywhere and in all people. He knew and demonstrated omnipresence. We, too, must make this demonstration right where we are, and we also know how to do it. Where I am, God is. The presence that fills every great cathedral fills my home and my place of business today. There is no confusion where I am, for the peace of the Almighty surrounds me, and I know it. I live, move, and have my being in the one mind, which is forever thinking rightly, thinking lovingly. The harmony and the order of the universe now fills my life and the world with good. I am surrounded by it. I am filled with it. I sense it in all things, and I find it in all people. I joyously acknowledge God where I am at every instant. The life, love, and perfect action of truth are mine now. My environment is saturated with the presence of good, and I live in peace this day. So occasionally I will use the phrase marching orders. All right. And it's because I'm a military brat. I grew up, in and around the military. So this is one of those where Ernest is giving us our marching orders. This is, if you want to do this, this is what you have to do. Other times he tells us how. But most of the time he leaves the how up to us. So in our marching orders, he's reminding us there's nowhere God is not. There is no one where God is not present. There is no one who is not a beloved child of God, no matter their behavior. So it doesn't matter what a person is doing. God still loves that person. Now, if that person is misbehaving, we still love that person. But we don't have to put up with the bad behavior. We can say, hey, this isn't cool. Please stop that. or we can use stronger words than that. And if they choose not to stop, then we can still love them, but we just do it from over here. We do not tolerate bad behavior just because we recognize the child of God. What we do is we remind them that they are a child of God. And sometimes we come out and say, hey, you know what? You're a beloved child of God. Why are you acting like that? And sometimes we say it in other ways. It depends on how you're approaching the situation. So, and that first line's a kicker. That first line. If we cannot demonstrate the presence of good where we are, we shall never be able to do it where it's seen at what seems a better place. And it's almost like, well, even if you're in the depths of hell, God's there. And if you can't demonstrate your good in a normal situation, it's not going to be any better in a great situation. And if you end up in the depths of hell, then, that's why we do regular spiritual practice. So that when we end up in those situations, because they happen, that we would consider hellish, we have to remember who we are and remember that God is right there. And when we do that, it lightens up. It lightens up. And then we can think our way clearly to get out of it. All right. So it really is that situation. That's why he's saying, look, if you can't do it now, but he's not explicitly saying it. I'm explicitly saying, if you can't do it now while things are normal, if you're waiting for a better time, a better circumstance, a better situation to see God. But what happens if you end up in a situation that's not? It's going to be that much harder. So it's like you do that regular spiritual practice. So you end up when you end up in situations that are non-preferred, I'm going to use that word instead of using the other one I've been using. You end up in a situation that's non-preferred, then you can express. And if you can express, and you can express God, and you can express God's love, then you can get out of the situation. It's about remembering who you are. It really is about remembering who you are. And because he says it, an unpleasant environment is a challenge to us to see God in action at that place in the universe. So that's the point of practice. If we can't do it in a normal situation, we're still not going to be able to do it in a fabulous situation. And then when we are in a unpleasant environment, yeah. So practice now. Practice now. See God now. See, practice the love. Practice seeing everybody as a godling now. And get really good at it in the normal situations. Because if you wait to see God when you walk into a fantastic cathedral, you're missing the point. You're missing the point. All right. My environment is saturated with the presence of good. Thou wilt show me the path of life. In thy presence is the fullness of joy. At thy right hand there are pleasures forevermore. So, thou wilt show me the path of life. In thy presence is the fullness of joy. If you stand in the presence of God all the time, then you will always have, if nothing more than a spark of joy. You will have a spark of joy. And we all have, all of us who grew up with Smokey, we all know all it takes is a spark. All it takes is a spark to start a wildflower. Fire. To start a wildfire. So if you can stand in the presence of God in an unpleasant environment and you can hold that spark of joy, you can use that spark of joy to start a wildfire of joy. Anybody can do it. You don't need any special training, but you do need regular spiritual practice of seeing God everywhere and in all people. All right, so that was the Psalm 16:11. If we cannot demonstrate the presence of good where we are, we shall never be able to do it where it seems a better place. The human mind likes to think that distant pastures are greener. We've all heard that. The other side of the fence. The other side of the fence is greener. Well, what if they've been painting their lawn? Because that's what we found out. A lot of people who have really green lawns, because they've been dyeing their lawns. So they're putting up an appearance, but it's not really, it's not really the presence. It's not really the presence. But we know that they are not. God is the result of right thinking based on right motives. And they've got this in italics. It's like, let me emphasize, good is the result of right thinking based on right motives. Well, what is right thinking and what are the right motives? The right motives always start with love. And the right motives are always about benefit as many people as you can and harm none. And harm none. If the only person that benefits from it is one person and it harms none, that's okay. The more people you can benefit, the better. But harm none. If you can do that, you're golden. You're golden. It is not a location. It is an atmosphere. It is a consciousness. It is our state of mind. It is our state of mind. It is the state of mind that we go into. And that's what we do for celebrations. Be they weddings, be they funerals, be they christenings. Doesn't matter. Which reminds me. It doesn't matter. So the question really comes down to your consciousness. Are you willing to see God? Are you willing to see good? Are you willing to be in an unpleasant and uncomfortable environment with an unpleasant and uncomfortable person and see that person as a child of God? It doesn't mean you have to stay there, though. Don't ever think that God wants you to stay with an abusive, unpleasant person. God just requires you to see them as a child of God. God does not want you to stay there. You can do it from over here, all right? Which is revealed by us wherever we are. So it is an atmosphere which has to be revealed by us, not to us, by us. We have a part to play in this. There is no more of the presence of God in a great cathedral than there is in your own home or office. All right. There are places that we go when we go to fantastic places in nature, when we go into the great cathedrals, when we go into the great, religious places. It's obvious that God is there. Climb a mountain, God is there. But if you walk into your office where you work, if you walk into, the place of your employment, if you walk into your home, do you sense God there? If not, why not? And what are you going to do about it? And one of the things is to be conscious, to know that God is there, to know that God is there. Once you know that God is there, then you can start looking for the feeling. And once you've got the feeling, because God's there, whether you know it or not. Principle is either everywhere, evenly present and active, or it isn't a principle. An unpleasant environment is a challenge to us to see God in action at that place in the universe. Jesus has the ability to see God everywhere and in all people. That is what made him the master teacher. Right there. Because Jesus could look at another person and see God looking back at him. And Jesus could look at somebody who was wounded and damaged and possessed and say, get up and walk. Because he saw God in them and he knew that they had the power to do it. Jesus wasn't doing the healing. Jesus was revealing to the person who they were. And the people healed themselves by recognizing the God within. He knew and demonstrated omnipresence. We too must make this demonstration right where we are, and we also know how to do it. Where I am, God is. The presence that fills every great cathedral fills my home and my place of business today because I carry it within me. I carry it within me. So there's nowhere God is not. Now, God was already there, but I am recognizing it within me, recognizing it, acknowledging it. What is it that Reverend Jesse likes to say? Jove nods to Jove. It's like I carry the God spark within me, so when I walk into a place, I recognize the God spark in the place. All right? Not because I walk into the room, because I walk into the room carrying something that acknowledges something that's already there. There is no confusion where I am, for the peace of the Almighty surrounds me, and I know it. I live and move and have my being in the one mind, which is forever thinking rightly, thinking lovingly. The harmony and the order of the universe now fill my life and world with good. I am surrounded by it. I am filled with it. Like, these are words to take into your spiritual practice. Where I am, God is. I am surrounded by it. I am filled with it. I know it. I sense it in all things and find it in all people. I joyously acknowledge God where I am at every instant. What does that look like? What would joyously acknowledging God where you are look like? I'm not sure I have a suggestion. But when you meet people, smile. It doesn't have to be a big one. Just an acknowledgement. It's like, I know you. I know you. I know you. The life, love, and perfect action of truth are mine now. My environment is saturated with the presence of good. I live in peace this day. All right, beloveds. The mission today, should we choose to accept it? There's a lot. There's a lot. That whole second paragraph there. I think our mission is to do what Gabby just did and joyously acknowledge God wherever we are. Joyously find something that you can do to acknowledge God everywhere. Like when you walk into a room, acknowledge God. And it doesn't have to be something that anybody else is going to notice. It can all be done internally. So that, consider that your home, your office, treat them like you treat that cathedral. And that doesn't mean you have to whisper. Because I know we all whisper in cathedrals, but we only do that because the acoustics are amazing, not because God is there. All right, beloveds. I'm also going to encourage you to do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself. Gabby, are you joyously acknowledging God? Be it big, be it small, it doesn't matter. Practice it on yourself because you deserve it. Practice it on yourself because you deserve it. And practice makes permanent. So it becomes your default setting. So that you don't have to think about doing something kind, doing something compassionate, doing something loving. It's just a habit. And it also creates that bank that you can share. All right? I would also encourage you to go and engage your mind and your body. Mine was mostly stretching today, but he made me do burners at the end, so my arms are going to be fun today. Go get some sun. It's cool-ish, and there's a nice sun out there. And drink plenty of water. All right? It's Wednesday. I know that there is a book study today. So email info@creativelife.org. Get on that mailing list. There's always stuff going on, and half the time I know, or actually usually I've got a pretty good idea. So check that out if you're interested in that. And the good thing about the book studies is you can drop in and out. You don't have to, it's not like the classes where you have to be there every week. I mean, you'll get more out of it if you're there every week, but So do that, and then, yeah, do what you need to do to have a great day, an amazing day, a fantastic day, a wonderful day, a good day, a good day. And if that's too much pressure, simply have a day, all right? Whatever it is you're doing, open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you, you do live in heaven now. God is present right where you are, right now, right with you, because you carry that spark within you. And it's all around you. I'm currently being screamed at by a tiny version of it now. Right, Gabs? Are you joyously acknowledging God today? All right, beloveds. Know that you're loved. And Reverend David will be on around 5 p.m. I'll be back with you at 9 a.m. All right? Until next time.